All-Star Telescope is located in the country about half an hour north of Calgary, close to Didsbury, Alberta. We've been able to do a lot of hands-on observing and helping people with their telescopes because we are in this rural area and have relatively dark skies. And I'll have to say, we absolutely enjoy what we do in terms of working with people and helping them in the hobby, as well as doing the hobby ourselves. It helps you to align the mirrors properly,
okay.
so there are instructions.
His mirrors were...
It's a Dobsonian, I presume. They just got,
We're going to say yes.
The big white one, yeah, the big white one, that's a Dobsonian, yeah.
Oh, fabulous, yeah. No,
It seems like everybody's getting more interested in it. Our business is just really going good, and it seems like more emphasis is being placed on space, of course, with Chris Hadfield and the comet, things like that are happening. And so more and more are getting involved in it.
And I will take the mount and we'll go outside. Our mission as a business is helping people discover the wonders of the night sky. And part of it is that astronomy is an absolutely fabulous hobby that's available to everyone. And as one author put it, it can be as enriching in your life as anything in the arts or in music. And we've just discovered that as a science that it also has a wonderful artistic beauty side to it that's very hard to be able to describe until you're actually out under the stars and you look at the rings of Saturn for the first time through a telescope, and all of a sudden you discover this wonderful connection to the universe that is way out there beyond us. And it's something that is quite transcendent. It's hard to put into words, just like looking at a beautiful painting or listening to a wonderful symphony. Astronomy does that for many of us. It takes us to a new level of consciousness and a new connection with the wonderful universe that we're part of.
I absolutely love looking through the telescope. My big wow moment is first time I saw Saturn with the rings, and just could not believe that's actually what I'm seeing, because you look at it in the books and it's nice, but when you actually see it through a telescope, it just blows me away.
My story of getting into astronomy is maybe a little unique. I was a little bit later in life, in my late 30s. We had gone to Africa for 3 years of service with the Mennonite Central Committee. A wonderful Muslim family was hosting us in their village, but there was no electricity and there was no plumbing. So in the middle of the night, I had to step outside and try to find a latrine. I looked up from this small village in central Nigeria at the night sky, and it just exploded in front of me. I'd never seen the sky like this in my life before. The lack of light pollution and the clear dark skies and a view of the Milky Way, that was my aha moment. And so I gradually got into the hobby. We had another 3 years in Nigeria. All I had were binoculars, but it really got my interest. And so I started following the sky more carefully. And when we came back to Canada, then I got involved in buying a telescope, got involved with the Astronomy Club in Calgary, and ended up building some telescopes, and eventually, some 20 years later, we ended up actually opening a business in order to try to promote astronomy for other people.
Well, I'm at All-Star Telescope. I provide support and training for people who want to learn about astronomy, astrophotography. I also fix equipment, install. It's mostly a volunteer basis to help out. It gives everybody a chance to expand their knowledge of astronomy.
It's really great to have a permanent place to put your telescope where you can go out, and if it's cold out, it only takes you a few minutes to be able to get up and observing. It's basically looks like a garden shed with a roof that rolls off, and your equipment is there and ready to use. Very, very quickly, you're able to get up and observe or start imaging for the evening.
Here at All-Star Telescope, I've placed my 16-inch astrograph telescope for astrophotography. It's designed just to take small objects that you cannot see normally. When I'm teaching somebody astronomy, you look at them and you talk to them and you explain to them, and for the first time when they start seeing objects of the dark sky that they can't see inside of the city, all of a sudden you see this glow on their face, and it's like it lights up.
Star parties are a time for amateur, mostly, astronomers to get out, to be with each other, and to have a real period under a good dark sky when you can really look for things in the sky.
And I think a good part of it is, as Nick said, the observing, but it's also just a sense of community. Here we can spend meals together, and during the night we wander around a lot and visit each other's telescopes, and sometimes just sit for a while and look at the sky together.
Yeah, I come to Starland every year since its inception, and say it starts on a Thursday, I'm always here on a Tuesday.
This right here is a QSI 540, and this is a Lodestar camera. Inside this QSI, there's a filter wheel right there, so this is a monochrome camera, it does RGB.
I'm an astrophotographer. My main imaging is deep sky objects, and deep sky objects are galaxies, planetary nebula, which is an exploded star in the first phase of life, star clusters, the sun, anything that's up there, I photograph. And I have 9 telescopes. Every one is good for one object. In the visual world, you get a telescope, you change eyepieces, and that's good for all objects. In my world, in astrophotography world, you got a telescope, you put a camera on, it's only good for one thing. For me, you want to go after a different object, it means a different telescope.
That's called the
Crescent.
crescent. Yeah.
Gathering data is all technical. Now the artist comes out of here when you start processing and start using Photoshop and start bringing out all that hidden detail in behind.
And that's where I'm trying to learn.
That's the artist part.
Even though astrophotography has been around a while, the advent of digital photography has really made a backyard photography so much more accessible and so much better. When I first started, it was a challenge of learning it, but it's become much more than that now. When I photograph something deep space, you're photographing back in time. You're actually looking back in time. So the event, whatever I'm photographing, the state of the object that I'm photographing was in that state 25 million years ago, or 1,000 years ago. Depends what it is, right? There's distances. And that just blows me away. If you're taking a deep sky object, they're time exposures. My photographs usually are a minimum of 3 to 4 hours duration exposure, up to, well, there's really no limit. I've gone up to 14 hours. If you ever look at stars at night, over time, you'll notice they move across the sky, right? They don't just sit there in the same spot all night. So you need a mount that will take your telescope and follow that object across the sky through the night. And then you have a camera. And you can have something as simple as just a regular DSLR, or you can have more sophisticated astrophotography type cameras, which is what I use. They're very, very sensitive to light. You take several photographs, and then you do what's called stacking, because if you left your camera open for 4 hours, it would be completely white, it would be overexposed, right? So you take a series of short, I do 10-minute or 15-minute exposures, and then I have software that takes all these exposures and stacks them, and because it's digital, you can add and subtract, when you're processing, the signal that comes in from the noise. And then once you've taken all the noise out and all you have is signal left, you have a picture. People should look up to really see what reality is about who we really are and our place in the universe. Life is the means by which a universe seeks to understand itself.